All right, welcome back to the program. Joining me right now for our second conversation is E E Okpa, the principal at Okpa Company. Welcome to you, Mr. Okpa, and thanks for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for having me on your show.
You're welcome. Let's get started, and let's start from the beginning, really, since perhaps Nigeria as a country has been suffering what they call, or what they know as the Dutch disease. Since 1956, that all was discovered. And 1958, since commercial exploration began. How much success do you think that we've made as a country in terms of income generation?
Well, for more than 50 years, or in fact 60 years now, Nigeria has been in the oil production business. The question needs to be asked, and the answer is always elusive. How come for these decades of producing oil and selling oil, how come Nigeria is still where it is? Nigeria is the poorest country of all the oil producing countries. And the reason of that poverty is when you take the volume of sales that comes from oil divided by the population, you get a number that is just in the 3 digits. So that hasn't done well for Nigeria. Infrastructure is very poor. Government spending is very high. So Nigeria needs to rethink the way they look at revenue in order to be able to provide the services needed from the population. It's not just good enough to say, hey, Nigeria is one of the highest oil producers or the largest oil producers. That's a fact when you look at the number of barrels produced. But when you look at the population, then it comes to a fact that that government needs to diversify its ways of getting income, and also using those income judiciously in order to provide the services that are necessary. It's not just that Saudi Arabia is about 35 or 25 million people, but they produce about 8 million barrels a day. So when they sell that, they can afford to do a whole lot of things. Nigeria cannot afford it to be the way of Saudi or any of the Middle Eastern countries, because those countries have small population.
What problem do you think we really have? Is it the problem of getting monies from oil, from the sale of oil, or not using the monies that we're getting judiciously, or that the monies we're getting from oil have not been enough to develop the country?
Well, again, it's a population thing. You just look at a family unit. Okay, if in your family there are 10 of you, you're making $1 million or 1 million naira, you can easily divide that. That's how the GDP is done. Gross income based on the number of people in it. So if Nigeria is producing 1 billion, for lack of better number, divided by the population, that's why the per capita is low. It was in 2005-06 that Nigeria ever made the highest money in selling oil, and that was at the height of the Gulf War. Since then, it's been going down. If you look at the chart by the Nnaji Information Agency from 1975, when they started tracking revenues for oil-producing countries, Nigeria's highest peak was in when Obasanjo was in there in his second term, and since then it's been going down. So what is the federal government budget? What is the total federal government budget in 2021? It's about 32 or something billion dollars. So again, that's revenue, a bulk of it comes from oil. So that means the 200 or so million Nigerians, or let me even say 175 million Nigerians, are only producing about 25-30% of what the total spending is. So by now we should have flipped that number. By now, oil should be maybe 17%, 15% of the total revenue coming into the federal government, because from that federal government is where the states get their money. You look at each state budget. I mean, maybe Lagos is now 50-50. The rest of the state are heavily dependent on the federal government. So that if that oil money starts shrinking, then their ability to do what they're supposed to do is shrinking. And then in addition to that is the high cost of government. Nigeria has the highest cost of government, of any population its size. And so we have to rethink that. How do you free more money, paying recurring expenses that doesn't produce additional money in the system? And that's a challenge, and that has to come from policy review. I mean, for instance, I live in Texas. Okay, Texas The amount of oil Nigeria produces is about the same. Nigeria now is down to 1 point something million barrels because of, the challenges in the oil producing areas. But let's say Nigeria produces, at the time, their peak was like 3 million barrels. I mean, that's about the same amount of oil Texas produces. But oil in Texas is a private matter. The government doesn't get involved. The government just has policy, taxation policy that goes to the revenue that comes from that operation. But in Nigeria, it's totally government. We have Minister of Petroleum. The president sometimes, handles the oil sector as his own pet project. They decide what happens in it. But look at Nigerians needs to produce. I mean, back in the 50s, up until the war started, I mean, we had the cocoa, we have the granite pyramid, we have the palm oil. The regional governments were doing very well. And then the oil came, everybody gave up on every productive activity. Now everybody now is in the oil business. And then that oil business is only what? Again, it has to be what you produce and what you sell. And then to even complicate matters, you refine part of it outside and bring that back in, which puts a pressure on your foreign reserve. Look at the Naira. Look at the Naira since 1999 when Obasanjo came in. If you had 1 million Naira back in 1999, you had an equivalent of $12,000. So look at it, 22 years of working at democracy when everybody was given the impression that democracy is the tool, in order for a country to do well. Today, 1 million Naira is what? 1 million Naira is about $2,000 something. So technically speaking, if you look at present value, future value, holding time, we know that is 22 years, and you solve for I, which is the rate of change, it will tell you the economy is not doing well. If you were a civil servant in 1999 and you were being paid 1 million Naira, and 22 years, maybe you are about to retire, you are earning less than you started. And people talk about I'm sorry?
Okay, I just wanted to come in there. Since you took me over to the states, and let's take a look at government's budget, even the federal government and the state's budget. You talked about Lagos a while ago. You were right, because if you take a look at Lagos, IGR is almost equals to what they get from Abuja. But if we take a look at the federal government budget as well as the state's budget, they've been under significant pressure amid even worsened by COVID-19. What practical steps or what actions do you think that as governments we should take? I'm not part of government, I'm saying them now. Federal government and various states. What practical actions should they take? And are there other models for income generation, apart from taxes, apart from taxation? Because I mentioned that purposely, because where government would think, oh, just tax your people. How can you tax more or poor people? Of course, we've seen the VAT increase from 5% to 7.5%. But are there other practical models that government can adopt to raise income, or to raise revenue for themselves?
Well, good question. But how again, you have to look at the size of Nigeria in comparison to other. If you look at the 10 top countries in the world that has a population of 100 plus, plus million, Nigeria falls in that category. So when it comes to income, I mean, one of the most globally recognized means of government is taxation. Some of it is fines, some of it is fees, some of it is, again, taxation, which could be on production, which could be on income earned or investment income. So, but in the case of Nigeria, that's not efficient. Nigeria does not have an efficient tax system. Let me go back to Lagos. If Lagos were run efficiently, by now, Lagos should be looking to the federal government, for less than 10-20% of what they do. Because Lagos is the highly developed real estate. I mean, even though that real estate development is not efficient, if Lagos State were to come up with a system that captures the activities of those real estate within its state boundaries, they should be able to produce revenue that will support them being able to provide services and goods the people need. So taxation is a good aspect of it. But if you're in a small country, again, with the Saudis or the Middle Eastern countries, where they are very small and they have product, which is oil and gas, they can sell. That's what they do. They start to sell those, and then their budget is always decided by the amount of barrels produced times the price. And boom, that's money in their treasury divided by the number of people. They are home free. But for a large population country, you have to devise ways to find additional money. Here's, for instance, if every Nigerian, let's use water as a means of revenue, because most Nigerian states don't have water system. Okay, let's say Lagos again. Let's say Lagos were able to tax through their water system. I mean, they build an efficient system, and if everybody who uses water in Lagos is paying 5 naira a gallon, and you have like 50 gallons a day. I mean, now, this is including the commercial, the residential, all kinds of use. And Lagos State were to attach, a service fee of 5%. You do that number based on the population reported at Lagos. You have billions of dollars just coming from water. And this is money internal to you. It has nothing to do with the federal government. You're not selling any product anywhere. And the same thing can go for other states. So the Nigerian states are too many and they are too small. A lot of them have nothing in them except to wait for the center to give them the allocation, and then the governors with their assembly members decide who gets what. So those things have to be challenged, and those things have to change. If not, Nigeria is a poor country. Let us not, confuse Nigeria with a few people who have money. But those few people who have money, they are not wealth creating. Look at Dangote, for instance. Dangote is the richest black man in the world, but you look at all the companies represented by him, none of them has a value of $1 a share. And this is the richest man in the world, the richest black man in the world. So how is what he's doing creating wealth for Nigerians? Zero.
But since you brought me to that you said that Dangote, being the richest black man in the world, none of his companies is valued at $1, because I think a share. Dangote Cement is hovering around 200 naira. So you're right. But doesn't that also make it an opportunity for Nigerians, for example, to be shareholders of Dangote Company?
Yes, but you see, Dangote is not properly structured. Dangote is a monopoly. Okay, the reason he has been successful is that he has enjoyed an undue government support. If the cement industry were to be opened up, Dangote will collapse, because he all these years or decades, what he has enjoyed is every successive government is always giving him protection. He's the one that brings in the rice, he's the one that brings in the cement, he's the one that brings in the commodity. That's antitrust. Such a thing will not exist in America, because there will be a lawsuit in the federal court that will challenge his exclusivity in those industries. So that is why Nigerians don't have confidence. Nigerians don't have confidence in ability of Dangote to be a company they want to put their money in, because it's not run properly. You look at his governance rule, you look at the fact sometimes money might hit his bank account and he's not able to explain it. No company, if you're a publicly traded company, once $1 hits your public account, you have to explain it. So Dangote may get money from various sources and then he's not able to explain it. So how does that create wealth?
Anyway, let me just halt you a bit, because I don't think we're discussing Dangote. Why I just had to bring it here is because of what's...
No, we're discussing structures. We're discussing the richest black. We're discussing, not personally, we're discussing the corporations that are associated with the richest black person. That's supposed to be creating wealth. Because when your wealth is internal, it's going to impact the standard of living of the individual. But when you are borrowing excessively outside, that is what puts pressure on the naira, and that is what makes Nigerians poorer, because there is no company properly structured that Nigerians can say, hey, I'll buy shares in this company, and then I can even control the shares, maybe by buying more of it, and all of a sudden I take control of the board. How many people are going to take control of a board when the individual doing it is still heavily involved, and most people don't know what they're doing to make it?
If we take a look at since we're looking at industries now, if we take a look at the way the Nigerian GDP is composed, agriculture contributes about 22%, industry and manufacturing, which Dangote, which you've mentioned, belongs to, contribute about 27%. The services sector contributes close to 50%. How do you think that we can develop these sectors, perhaps away from the primary sector of agriculture, which includes fishing, crop production, and whatever, into secondary and tapping into tertiary, which services sector belongs to, so that Nigeria can get more income?
Well, again, when you invest locally, when the naira becomes the choice of wealth creation, that's going to give many Nigerians the opportunity to get wealthy. I.e., now you have pension funds, you have all these groups. So when they buy stock, when they put it on long-term income-producing assets, what is that going to be? Real estate portfolio, manufacturing, agriculture. Agriculture is very key because people have to eat. But then the question now becomes, what is the quality of the food? How much of the food consumed in Nigeria come from Nigerian production, as opposed to the ones that are coming from outside? What you want to do is to put less pressure on the foreign reserve, because the reason foreign reserve is important for Nigeria is what gives it credibility. Nigeria doesn't have a robust financial industry where people can lend money to Nigeria based on its ability to pay. Usually they look at the foreign reserve as, okay, fine, that's why when most companies are coming into Nigeria, they ask for guarantees. We need the federal government guarantees. And then the federal government is overly invested in a lot of things in Nigeria that they shouldn't. You have to diversify, you have to get into the regulation and control and being able to find companies if they go against certain regulation. Right now, you have hotels that are owned by the government, you have rails that are owned by the government. So many things the government in, and then you have to have state governments that don't do anything.
Okay, you're talking about states. Let's go there now. You mentioned earlier that states in Nigeria are small, and states in Nigeria do not have enough money. Are you canvassing that there should be no creation of states? Because even though we have 36 states in Nigeria, many people are still saying we still need more states because development are not getting to them in certain areas. So are you saying right now that perhaps the states should come together? Or what kind of system of government should we begin to operate so that we can have more development? And what makes smart economic sense?
Nancy, let me say this. If you make every compound in Nigeria a state so that people will feel that they have control, it's not going to work. We have not understood what democracy means. Democracy is a matured form of government. There are still many contentions. Look at the Igbo states. The 5 Igbo states since 1999. If you look at the total state budgets that all 5 of them have put together is more than $80 billion. You look at, and Igbo states are the smallest tribal land in Nigeria. It's about 14,000 square miles. So you look at that, you divide the amount of state budgets Igbo states have had by the area covered. It is higher than what the state of Texas has budgeted over the same period. And yet, they have no viable, credible companies located in that part of the world. Because all the governors are doing, they see their states like their bedroom, their little mansion, whatever they do. There are no regional economic development. None of the Igbo states has a budget of $1 billion. None. So when they get that money, what are they doing? You look at the spending, a lot of the spending is recurring expenses. So what you have to do when you are small is you go to regional economic model. So by now, water, for instance, the 5 Igbo states, they don't have to do it based on, whether you're APC or PDP or whatever. You look at how do you serve these 20 million people that are sequestered in this tiny area. You do regional economic development. You could have road system built. You look at the 5 Igbo states, they have the capital closest to them. From Enugu to Abakaliki, Awka to Enugu, Awka to Owerri.
You
could have done a loop road. You could have done a loop road system, making it. You don't need the federal government permission to do this. You just acquire right of way based on the area of your state that you don't have to interfere with the federal road. Now, if you don't interfere with the federal road, what you do is you negotiate a cross access easement, and you start paying them fee. Look at Niger Delta. I mean, Delta State and Anambra.
Yeah.
Delta State and Anambra. The one bridge has been connecting the West and the East. Anambra State and Delta State by Nigeria built so many bridges across River Niger. And all they do, go to the federal government, we'll pay you ground lease. We'll pay you to have a cross-access easement over River Niger, since the waterways of Nigeria belong to the federal government. But they're not doing it. Everybody's building you have a airport in what is it called in Asaba. Now Anambra State is building. Those things are not viable economic engine because the traveling population in Nigeria is very small. Murtala Mohammed, the largest airport in Nigeria, has less than 12 million passengers a year. So how many is going to Delta? So if you build infrastructure on the road, you don't have to catch the plane, because from Lagos to Enugu is for me driving from Dallas to Houston, which I'll do in 3 hours. And then you promote tourism because people have to stop, get into a hotel. But they're not doing this because
Okay, so as we end the program, what actions should some of these governors take, especially for those governors definitely that are watching? And you've chided them definitely that they seem not to be doing enough. If we take a look at even development models around the world, for Nigeria, for example, there have been Vision 2010, Vision 2020, which we did not achieve. Now there's an Agenda 2050 model. During the Obasanjo days, he brought out what they knew as needs, then seeds, up to the local government level. What should we do as a government? Then number two, what should we begin to do as a people? What should we demand from our people? Even as we speak now, the president is abroad for medical checkup, they say, or whether he went for rest, I really don't know, but he's not in the country. So you see where I'm going to, yes. Yeah,
Nancy, Nigeria is a personality political landscape. Okay, it has nothing to do with policies. So what we vote for people based on the tribe. So, for instance, Enugu State, or now is Enugu North, Enugu West, Enugu East. It's not about the credibility or the capacity of that governor to get the job done. Chimaroke did, Sullivan did, now and then you go to Anambra State. It has been the most dysfunctional because the Obas and whomever they have done whatever it is they are doing. So none of them is coming together and said, how do we leverage the money? Money is never enough, even as on a personal level or corporate level or public level. What matters is the attitude to the money. How do you stretch that currency you have in order to provide goods and services? And the way you do it is to recognize the regional economic model, because that gives you economy of scale in order for you to attract more money. If Anambra State were to, or any of the Igbo states, or any of the states outside of Lagos, but to say, okay, we want a $2 billion infrastructure money to do water, they won't be able to borrow it. Because it will overwhelm their own system. So the model that Nigeria needs to start doing, in Texas, we have what they call part-time legislature. Our legislatures meet 6 months every 2 years. It's not a full-time job.
Okay. I think we need to round up. So much to say. We'll do this again sometime soon. Thank you very much, E E Okpa, for joining us, principal at the Okpa Company. And thank you for waking up very early, because I know it's still early over there in yes, in Texas.
Well, thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for the opportunity to have the conversation that you have. This is what we need.
Thank you very much. Democracy
is good. It's about conversation and challenging system.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. I am Nnaji. Be the best you can be the change you want to see by now. Thank you for watching our video. Please hit the subscribe button below, turn on post notification to follow all our updates.